grand dining hall of the Jian estate was always intimidating. But tonight, the air was particularly thick with unspoken words. A long, polished mahogany table, gleaming under the soft glow of a crystal chandelier, was laden with an extravagant spread of Korean delicacies. The scent of galbi, kimchi jjigae, and fresh banchan should have been comforting. But to YN, it was just a backdrop to her quiet anxiety. Seated at the head of the table was her husband, Junkook. To the outside world, he was the dragon, the ruthless leader of the most powerful syndicate in Seoul. His name was whispered in fear. His presence commanded obedience. To YN, he was an enigma, a man who had chosen her in a whirlwind of arranged marriage, promising protection and a life of luxury, but whose world was shrouded in shadows and silence. She tried to focus on the conversation. Seated around the table were his most trusted men, the inner circle, who were as much family as they were Lieutenants Kim Namjoon. The strategic right-hand man was calmly discussing business logistics with Kim Seokjin, the eldest, whose handsome face and sharp wit often disarmed enemies before they even saw the threat. Min Yoongi, the quiet and deadly intelligence head, was sipping his soju, his observant eyes missing nothing. Jung Hosak, the charming but lethal head of security and negotiations, was telling a lively story that had everyone but Junkook and YN laughing. Park Jimin and Kim Taehyung, the wild cards, one a master of infiltration with a deceptively sweet smile, the other a weapons and arts expert with a chaotic genius, were engaged in a playful argument. But YN's gaze kept drifting back to Junkook. He was listening to Hosak's story, his face an impassive mask. He wasn't loud or overtly threatening at the table, but his silence was a force of its own. The way his large, tattooed hand curled around his glass, the sharp line of his jaw, the intensity in his dark eyes, even when he was at rest, it all screamed power and controlled danger. She loved him. She knew she did, in a deep, inexplicable way that had grown over their 6 months of marriage. But she was also, undeniably, scared of him. Scared of the world he ruled, scared of the whispers, scared of the coldness that sometimes settled in his eyes when he dealt with threats. She tried to hide it, to be the graceful, unshakable wife he deserved. But the fear was a constant, icy knot in her stomach. AN. What YN didn't know was that Junkook, a man who read people for a living, who could sense a lie from a mile away, had noticed the subtle shifts in her, the way she sometimes flinched when he moved too quickly, the way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes when he came home late, the careful distance she kept even when they were close. JK. The new shipments from Busan are being handled by Yoon Gi-hyung's team. There were complications, but they've been resolved. His voice was low and calm, but the word resolved hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. YN's hand, which was reaching for her water glass, trembled slightly. She quickly pulled it back, folding her hands in her lap. Jimin, sitting to her right, noticed. His ever-present smile softened with a hint of concern. Jimin, YN, you've barely touched your food. Is the soup not to your liking? I can have the kitchen make something else. Y/N. Oh no, it's perfect, Jimin. Thank you. I'm just not very hungry tonight. She offered a small, reassuring smile, but her eyes flickered nervously towards Junkook. He was watching her now. His conversation halted. His gaze was like a physical weight, pinning her to her seat. Taehyung, you need to keep your strength up, YN. How else will you keep up with our JK? He's a force of nature. Taehyung winked, but the comment only made the knot in her stomach tighten. A force of nature. Yes, that was exactly it. Unpredictable and terrifyingly powerful, the dinner continued, the conversation flowing around her like a river she couldn't cross. She felt like a ghost at the feast, present in body, but miles away in spirit. She was so lost in her thoughts, trying to calm her racing heart, that she didn't notice Junkook's growing stillness. Junkook was connecting the dots. The slight tremble, the averted gaze, the hesitant tone she used only with him. It wasn't shyness. It wasn't respect. It was pure, unadulterated fear. And the realization struck him with the force of a physical blow. His own wife, the woman he had vowed to protect above all else, the one person he thought saw the man beneath the monster, was terrified of him. The thought ignited a cold, possessive fire in his chest. Under the cover of the massive table, hidden from the view of the others, his hand moved. It wasn't a gentle caress. It was a swift, deliberate act of possession. His large, warm hand landed high on her thigh, his fingers splaying out, gripping her firmly through the fabric of her dress. YN froze. A sharp, silent gasp caught in her throat. Her entire world narrowed to the point of contact. His hand was heavy, warm, and undeniably dominant. She dared not move, dared not even look at him. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. Junkook, meanwhile, continued his conversation with Namjoon as if nothing had happened. His face was still calm, his voice even. JK. Namjoon Hyung, ensure the payment from the Daegu consortium is processed by morning. I don't like delays. Namjoon understood. JK. But his thumb, hidden beneath the table, began to move. It stroked slow, soothing circles on her inner thigh, a stark contrast to the firmness of his grip. It was a silent message. I know, and we will talk about this. N felt a confusing whirlwind of emotions, fear, shock, and a treacherous, unwelcome thrill at his possessive touch. Her face flushed, and she stared fixedly at her plate, unable to eat or speak. Hosak, YN, you've gone pale. Are you feeling all right, JK? She's fine. Junkook's voice cut through the concern, leaving no room for argument. His eyes met hers for the first time since his hand had claimed her thigh. The intensity in them was overwhelming, a storm of hurt, anger, and a fierce, protective determination. JK. Aren't you, Jajia? The endearment, usually a soft caress, felt like a brand. She could only manage a weak, jerky nod. YN. Why, yes, I'm fine. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur for YN. The laughter and chatter of the others seemed to come from a great distance. All she could feel was the heat of Junkook's hand, a constant, thrilling, and terrifying reminder of his presence. He never removed it, his thumb continuing its maddening, gentle rhythm, a secret shared between them in a room full of people. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Junkook pushed his chair back, the signal that dinner was over. Everyone else began to rise, their chairs scraping against the marble floor. JK. If you'll all excuse us, I need to speak with my wife. Privately. His tone was polite, but brooked no argument. The men nodded, filing out of the dining hall with knowing looks and quiet goodnights. Jimin gave YN's shoulder a gentle, reassuring squeeze as he passed soon. The massive doors closed, leaving the two of them alone in the cavernous room. The silence was deafening. Junkook's hand finally left her thigh, and she immediately missed its warmth, a thought that shocked her. He stood up and walked around the table. He didn't rush. Each step was measured, deliberate. He came to stand behind her chair, placing his hands on the back of it, caging her in. She could feel the heat of his body, smell his distinctive scent of sandalwood, and something uniquely him. JK. Look at me, Y/N. His voice was soft, but it was a command. Swallowing hard, she slowly tilted her head back to look up at him. His expression was unreadable, his dark eyes searching hers. YN. Junkook. JK. How long? Y/N. W. What? JK. How long have you been scared of me? The direct question, voiced in that quiet, intense tone, shattered all her defenses. Tears welled up in her eyes, blurring his handsome, worried face. YN. I'm not. Don't lie to me, he whispered, his voice laced with a pain that surprised her. Please, don't ever lie to me. I saw it tonight. I see it every day. The way you look at me sometimes, like I'm a storm about to break. Do you think I would ever let that storm touch you? A tear escaped and traced a path down her cheek. He brought a hand up, his thumb, the same one that had been stroking her thigh, gently wiping it away. The tenderness of the gesture, coming from such a fearsome man, made her cry harder. YN. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Junkook. I don't mean to be. It's just your world, the things I hear, the way people talk about you. I love you, I do, but I'm scared. She finally admitted it, the words tumbling out in a choked sob. The confession hung in the air between them, raw and honest. Junkook let out a long, slow breath, as if he'd been holding it the entire dinner. He moved from behind her chair, kneeling down beside her so they were at eye level. It was a vulnerable position, one she never thought she'd see the great Junkook in. He took both of her cold, trembling hands in his warm, larger ones, JK. YN, he began, his voice hushed and incredibly gentle. The people who are scared of me are scared for a reason. They have seen the dragon. They have earned his wrath. He lifted one hand to cradle her face, his thumb stroking her cheekbone, JK. But you have only ever seen Junkook, your husband, the man who fell in love with your smile the moment he saw you, the man who stays up late just to watch you sleep, because the peace on your face is the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. /N. YN's breath hitched. He had never spoken like this before. His words were weaving a spell around her, melting the ice in her veins, JK. Do you know what I do when I have to be? That man, the one people fear. I think of you. I think of coming home to you, your smile, your laugh, the way you hum when you're cooking, the way you wrinkle your nose when you're confused. You are my sanctuary. YN, you are the only thing in this dark world that is pure and good and mine to protect. He leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers, his eyes closed, JK. The thought that I have become a source of your fear, it breaks me. It shatters something inside me that I didn't think could be broken. Y/N. Junkook, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. She brought her hands up, cupping his face, feeling the strong line of his jaw under her palms. I'm the one who's sorry. I let the whispers get to me. I forgot that the man who brings me flowers for no reason, who gets flustered when I compliment him, is the same man who rules this city. She took a shaky breath, her courage returning, fueled by his raw honesty. YN, I'm not scared of you. I'm scared for you. I'm scared of losing you to that darkness. He opened his eyes, and the look in them was so full of love and devotion, it stole her breath away, JK. You could never lose me, he vowed, his voice a low, fervent promise. You are my light. Without you, there is only darkness. I need you to trust me, YN. Trust that the man who holds you at night is the only man you will ever need to know. The other, he is just a weapon, a shield to keep us safe. He stood then, pulling her up with him. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her close, her head tucked perfectly under his chin. She could feel the steady, strong beat of his heart against her cheek. It was a rhythm of safety, of home. YN. I trust you, she whispered into his chest. And for the first time, she truly, completely meant it. The fear was still there, a faint echo, but it was now overshadowed by a love so profound and powerful it felt like a supernova in her soul. JK. Good, he murmured, pressing a kiss to the top of her head, because I am never letting you go. He pulled back slightly, a new, smoldering look in his eyes. JK. And just so we are perfectly clear, in one swift, effortless motion, he bent down and scooped her up into his arms, a true bridal carry. She let out a small squeal of surprise, her arms instinctively winding around his neck. JK. You are mine. Every single part of you. Your smiles, your tears, your fears, and your courage. all belongs to me, and I take care of what's mine." He carried her out of the dining hall, not towards their bedroom, but towards his private study, a place she was rarely allowed, his inner sanctum. He shouldered the door open and carried her inside, kicking it shut behind him. The room was exactly as she'd imagined: dark wood, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a large desk, and the faint scent of his cologne. But he didn't put her down. He walked over to the large, plush armchair behind his desk and sat down, settling her on his lap, her legs draped over the side of the chair. He looked at her, his gaze intense and unwavering. "JK, no more distance. YN, no more fear. From now on, you see everything. You know everything. This world is mine, and that makes it yours. You will never have a reason to be scared of me again." Then proceeded to do something he had never done before. He picked up a file from his desk and opened it in front of her. "JK, this is the complication from Busan I mentioned." He talked her through it. He explained the business, the threats, the strategic moves. He didn't sugarcoat the violence, but he framed it not as cruelty, but as necessity, a brutal calculus to maintain order and protect what was his, which included her. He showed her maps, financial ledgers, and introduced her to the complex chessboard of his life. AN. For YN, it was terrifying and exhilarating. He was trusting her with his soul, the stained and bloody parts of it. He was showing her the dragon's den and asking her to walk through it by his side hours past. The moon rose high in the sky, casting a silvery glow through the large window. The initial tension had melted away, replaced by a deep, intimate connection. She asked questions. He answered with startling honesty. They talked. They argued softly about a point of strategy. And they even shared a laugh when she pointed out a flaw in one of his plans that even Namjoon had missed. YN. "You're incredible," she breathed out, looking at the man who was both a feared king and, in this moment, just her husband, sharing his burdens with her. "JK. No," he said, closing the last file and setting it aside. He framed her face with his hands, his touch infinitely gentle. You're sitting here in the heart of my darkness, and you're not flinching. You're making it brighter just by being here." Leaned in, and this time, his kiss was not one of possession, but of reverence. It was soft, slow, and achingly sweet. A silent promise of a new beginning. When they finally parted, breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. "JK. I love you. YN, more than my next breath, more than this entire empire. Y/N. I love you, Junkook. All of you. The man and the dragon." A genuine, radiant smile, the first one he'd seen from her all night, finally broke across her face. It was like the sun coming out from behind the clouds. Junkook's heart swelled. He stood, lifting her once more, but this time, he carried her towards their bedroom. "JK. Now," he said, his voice dropping to a low, intimate rumble as he laid her gently on their large bed. "Let me show you just how much your husband loves you." Let me worship every inch of the woman brave enough to love a monster. Why/N, you're not a monster, she whispered, pulling him down towards her, her eyes shining with love and newfound courage. You're my Junkook. And as his lips found hers again, in a kiss that was both a promise and a claiming, why En knew it was true. The fear was gone, replaced by a love that was as fierce, powerful, and eternal as the man himself. She had faced the dragon, and in his eyes, she had found not a beast, but her forever.